feelings of not being worthy of experiencing joy, pleasure, excitement, ecstasy, bliss, sweetness, and goodness can have us unable to reorient to this space within, to choose to turn towards the pathways of the goodness and sweetness of life. Welcome to the Embodied Woman podcast with me, Rebecca Wilson. An embodied experiential space for you to drop deep into the wealth of wisdom within your being and activate a fuller, richer you. I am a feminine awakener, thought leader, embodied business doula, sacred business midwife, healer, and all-round medicine woman. I am here to guide women deeper into their essence and power, to activate their life force, awaken pleasure, and support them to live an embodied life. I will help you birth your visions, dreams, creations, desires, and sacred business into the world from an easeful, embodied, and rooted place within. My work supports women to become more available for life, love, relationship, connection, creation, pleasure, and wealth. I will activate you into self-leadership and self-mastery to truly live an embodied and awakened life. Welcome on the journey, my love. Hello, beautiful. Welcome to the Embodied Woman podcast. So good to have you here and so good to be sharing this theme and topic that I feel so called to share with you today. And this is the theme, the inner exploration of what it means to be able to reorient to pleasure and to the goodness of life. Recently, in my own journey, I have been shifting my practices and my inner awareness to begin to choose to reorient myself towards that which feels good, nourishing, kind, gentle, loving, and pleasurable in my body and my system. And this shift has arrived for me through some deep inner exploration, a realization after many years of being hooked into healing loops, processes of trying to get rid of many different aspects of myself. I began to see how I was caught in this perpetual loop of focusing on what I needed to release, what was no good, what was bad, what was wrong, what wasn't working. And it began to feel really heavy. I was often in the frequency of all of those manifestations or expressions or emotions, trying to problem solve them all. And in that, trying to push them away, deny them, really trying to work it all out. And I began to notice that it was feeling quite tiring. I'd grown quite exhausted of this perpetual loop that I found myself in. So I began to explore how it might feel to choose in those moments to reorient myself to a place of resource inside my body, a space of goodness within my being, within my life. And I began to notice how things started to shift for me. And I just want to bring in a piece here just to recognize that the turning towards the goodness and the sweetness has not been born from a place of denying or disassociating or bypassing the emotions and the feelings that were there, but more so an acknowledgement that I don't have to go into the trenches of every single thing that rises, particularly for myself. And I know for many women that I have supported over the years, when we have stories and patterns within it needing to be a struggle or having to fight our way through or muscle our way through, having to work things out, needing everything to be incredibly emotionally complex, patterns of things needing to be tough or hard or overwhelming or emotionally depleting or chaotic. And because of historical patternings of formative year experiences, imprints that we carry, we can often hide within our healing, within our evolution, and stay in these realms of that underbelly of always wanting to fight, struggle, stay in that feeling of discomfort, the yuckiness, when there can be another way. So choosing this path to shift my direction, to reorient myself to some sweetness, allowing myself to find a place of resource, a place that feels safe and full and vital to rest in for some moments. And as I began that journey, this embodied knowing began to rise within me. My body was telling me, when we soften into this awareness, it naturally dissolves the stuck part, the heavy patterns that are held within. Because directing our awareness and attention consistently into what is not good, what is hard, what is challenging, keeps us in that place. If we can, just for moments, reorient ourselves, connect into something that feels good, or just a place that feels calm or resourced within, we begin to allow some space to open inside of our bodies, our emotions, those loops of the mind. And this naturally begins to move that stuck and stagnant energy into a greater state of ease and flow. And this becomes a healing balm of embodied resource that's available to us at all times. But that isn't always easily accessible to us at different points in our journey. So what blocks many women from being able to allow themselves to reorient to pleasure, the goodness and the sweetness of life? Many women arrive into my world and they are yearning to reawaken their dormant energy of pleasure, goodness, sweetness, gentleness within. They ask me, can they be supported in returning to that vibrant, radiant place inside of themselves, which is their true energetic essence, their expression of their trueness? There are many, many reasons why women are disconnected from their pleasure and struggle to reorient to the goodness and the sweetness of life. Firstly, we must begin to realize that there are many ancient stories passed down through our mother lineage and through the feminine consciousness on the planet. Stories and echoes of imprints that live in our body, our cells, and our bones. Within this realization, we can possibly recognize that these old echoes of stories and beliefs can possibly have been so deeply woven into each of us as individuals. Within that, we truly recognize that patterns carry forward through each family system, generation upon generation, the collective and cultural energy in which we exist. There is the micro and the macro within this experience. One of the many, but I would possibly say biggest reasons why we can find it challenging to reorient to pleasure, goodness and sweetness and gentleness within ourselves is safety. Safety is such a huge part of being able to access and open to the sweet joy and pleasures of life. When we feel safe, we can open to experience joy, sensuality, play, excitement, curiosity, sexuality, pleasure, love, all as embodied states and states of being. Safety is a huge part for women of being able to feel safe to open, safe to relax, safe to soften, safe to choose the goodness and the sweetness that life is here to offer us. Many women can feel suppressed by the inner narratives and stories that they carry, suppressed by stories of the family line, all the women that have walked before them, stories impressed upon them from culture and society. Maybe, like me and many of the women I have supported this far, you carry stories too around what it means to be a woman, what you should and should not be, what you should and should not be doing, how you should or should not be connected to your power, radiance, joy, sweetness, and pleasure. All of these thoughts, whether conscious or not, begin to inform impressions and imprints that are woven deeply within us, that hold us back, that keep us small, locked, bound, and trapped. And the stories in the narrative continue on through our lived expression, our lived experience, and the choices we make in life. The choice to be able to choose, to resource, to nourish, to reorient to something that is sweet, safe, and good can be a challenging place, a challenging choice to reach for, particularly when those places, the sweetness, the goodness, the joy, have been encoded with beliefs and stories that may involve danger or threat, disconnection, denial, shame, abandonment, a sense of wrongness, a sense of unsafety. So here lives a process of unraveling a narrative around that, so we can begin to choose in those moments where life feels challenging to turn towards the light, the warmth of the sun, the radiance within, to rest in a place of nurture and resource and pleasure, with a knowing that it doesn't have to be so difficult or challenging or hard. The ancestral beliefs that we carry have been created from our parents through cell division and their parents and so on. This creating a family chain of energy and experience held within our cells, and this information gets passed down. An inheritance of cellular memories. We are all carried in our mother's womb, encased in her emotion. We feel what she feels, and the whole family system too. We then adopt and falsely conceive these beliefs as truth. We've been exposed on a cellular level or repeated through our family system, conversations, stories, passed down beliefs. And we begin to recognize maybe all the women in this family believe this story or narrative too. Many of the conversations that I have, women will share, but this is just how we are in my family. This is how the women are. This is what the women do. Oh, the women in my family would never be like that. You have to be like this to, and then we work it out to what? To belong, to be loved, to be valid, to be chosen. The women that step into my space have often been told that pleasure is wrong or sinful. So why would we then choose to orient towards it? We've often been told that it is shameful, unladylike, not a place a woman should be, most of all deeply connected to sensual pleasure. But often we also then disconnect from the many pleasures of life, the simple act of resting, nurturing our body through movement, activity, food, self-care, connection with others, choosing to allow ourselves to be in connection with our bodies and ourselves. Within these threads of experience, many women often then begin to disconnect from their body. We often abandon our bodies for our mind. We journey on up and inhabit our mental space, living and existing from our mind, thoughts, overthinking, anxieties, depressions, or completely disassociated and disconnected from our felt sense and our body as our home. Here we can often see and feel in our own experience there's a disconnect from our heart, and most deeply a disconnect from the womb. In order to shut down the felt sensations and experiences, we shut down through feelings and often deny our true feminine nature. We disconnect from the sweetness, the goodness, and the joys of life. Often women carry threads of story about being too much, particularly in the felt sense of lightness and joy, excitement, playfulness, and pleasure. This is the full spectrum of feminine energy. And this expression, these multifaceted expressions, the feminine nature, it needs to feel safe to be in connection to these rivers of expression and energy that flow through us, that desire to flow through us so freely. Often we hear about stories from our friends or sisters, or when we're sat in circle, that women deny themselves the right to feel joy and pleasure because they feel too much. They feel unworthy, that they're taking up too much space. Who are they to feel the goodness and reorient to the sweetness of life? They don't deserve that. All of these stories have us disconnect and shut down from the river of love within us. The journey of reorienting to pleasure, sweetness, and the goodness of life is a journey of beginning to allow ourselves to receive. So many women, and myself included, for many, many years of my life, have disconnected from our ability to receive. And the feminine is receptive in nature. So as we disconnect from this ability, this gift of receptivity, from receiving from life, we shut down and disconnect from our essence and our truth. Feelings of not being worthy of experiencing joy, pleasure, excitement, ecstasy, bliss, sweetness, and goodness can have us unable to reorient to this space within, to choose to turn towards the pathways of the goodness and sweetness of life. I am here to tell you, my love, it is your birthright to feel and embody joy, sweetness, pleasure, and playfulness. You may have often in your life experiences felt that you needed to protect yourself and therefore guarded up, placed walls and barriers around yourself, and stayed stuck in habitual loops of resting in places that feel challenging and hard within yourself. Because somehow it may have felt or still feel safer to be muscling through life, to be in the stuckness, in the grit, in the grasp, in the holding on, in the challenge. Maybe it's so deeply known there, so deeply familiar. I know that place myself for all of those reasons. For me, there was this piece of needing to be a warrior and completely self-sufficient. And somehow that didn't seem available if I was to turn towards the goodness and the sweetness of life. I didn't allow myself to fully open to life and myself and my true nature. I had shut down my feminine flow in a need to feel safe. But safety didn't live there in the shutdown. I personally had forgotten for some time that it was my birthright to choose to reorient towards the light, the goodness, and the sweetness. When we begin to reorient to resource, cultivating depths of safety, stability, and holding within, we embark on a deep journey of remembering. We arrive back into our body and we remember. We remember that the truth is this. It is our birthright to be in our fullest, truest, most alive expression. It is a gift to the world for us to turn towards the light of sweetness, of joy, and reconnect to the playfulness that lives within. It is our gift to life, to the world, and those we interact with, to be rooted and embodied in our being, resting in the joy, the gentleness, and the softness within. We truly gift the spaces we enter, arrive into, when we are grounded in our body in a way that allows pleasure, expression, love, creativity, and curiosity to wash through us. This journey for myself has been so simple and yet so profound, as most of the journeys that we embark on are. There is a simplicity in realizing I get to choose rather than staying here in the dread, rather than staying here in the depths of it all, in the struggle with life, pushing on through, believing that my worth exists in everything being a challenge, being hard, painful, the sweet and gentle reorientation towards some goodness, some gentleness, a small place of resource within, watering that garden, watering the ground of the sweet joy, the gentleness, the kindness, and allowing that to grow has been the most simple and profound shift within my inner world. This journey for myself has been deeply supported by many new passions that I have been exploring over the past few years. Passions within my self-care, body care, nourishment, nutrient-dense foods, and implementing the root cause protocol. I have been implementing the steps from the RCP for the whole of this year. And I have also been implementing self-care, self-loving, and nourishing practices over the past 3 years, dedicating and devoting myself to bring connection within from a place of ease, gentleness, and full-bodied resource. So much so that I had the joy of being able to study the RCP this year, and I am now a qualified practitioner. I have been guiding many of the women in my individual mentorships through this process, and it has been remarkably life-changing for them too. So I'm in the womb cauldron of full creation for a group mentorship early 2024. So keep your eyes peeled for that one, my love, if your body is calling. But for now, I welcome you and invite you to join us to the Resource Woman Immersion, a 3-week body-based journey into cellular resource to restore body, heart, womb back into the vibrant pulse of the natural essence of your feminine frequency. Are you ready to become truly, deeply embodied in resource? If your body is saying yes, I welcome you to join us, my love. We begin December. The doors are open. The circle is gathering. Claim your place and join us. All the details are linked in the show note to join us in the Resourced Woman Immersion. There will also be a link for the wait list for our 2024 group mentorship, if that is speaking to you. As always, I'm here for connection. Reach out on Instagram or connect with me via email. If this episode touched you, please like, share with your sisters, your community. It means so much to me for this podcast to be shared far and wide and for these messages to reach as many women as possible so that all women can begin a journey of radical responsibility into full embodied resource. Let's start the revolution. Join me, my love. See you there. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. If you loved this musing and sharing, I would love for you to share this episode far and wide. You can arrive into all of my offerings at rebecca-wilson.com. Links to dive deeper with me are in the episode notes. Remember, my love, you are here to be the fullest, most potent, powerful, embodied version of you. I am here to guide you into that. Hey love, I'm dropping in here to welcome you to join us in our online community membership, The Village. I created this space for women to gather, to return to themselves, to deepen the connection and the relationship with self, whilst held in a community of like-minded women walking the journey and the path of their own awakening.